I write these pages as a reminder of my past, of what brought me here, the people I've met, and of the adventures and discoveries to come. I, Viktor Spark, was born in Charlian in the Old World region on Heidelin. If you wanted to go into more detail, I grew up in the Diopter district, but that is not greatly important to my past. I attended the studium just like every other Charlian child. However, the later years there as a teenager were interesting. You had people going through puberty and dealing with raging hormones, while also having an unending stream of assignments. On top of that, there were strict professors and teachers, and their crippling amount of pressure on success and top grades. The classes were long and difficult. We barely had any breaks between them. Thus, Archon loaf was a common snack in the hallways. It is an unpleasant, tasteless abomination of food, but it's extremely nutritious. Many students would fall asleep in class due to partying until late the night before. We would secretly slide them a special slice of Archon loaf when the teacher was not looking, and they'd be awake and alert within minutes. I never went to any of the illegal late-night parties the more popular students would host. I did have a small group of friends I hung around, but I drifted away from them after our graduation. A terrible and pointless decision on my part. On the topic of graduation, every student is required to write a thesis as their final assessment. I was initially going to discuss primal tempering and a possible cure, but I quickly hit a dead end. So I wrote my thesis on the nature of primals, the extent of their sentience, and the possible implications of killing them. Consider this. A primal is comprised entirely of ether. It is physically tangible. They displayed concerningly high levels in intelligence and speech, yet the extent of that seems to depend on the will of the summoner. I will direct your attention to my experience with the kobold child, Gabu. Gabu's parents were killed in the Navel, surrounded by crystals. The child's desperate cries to his deceased parents consisted of, I'm here, and wake up, please." Gabu's pleas connected to the crystals, and the young kobold accidentally summoned Titan, and was subsequently tempered by the primal. The interesting thing to note here was that Titan's speech was limited to the same phrases that Gabu was calling out. It is also possible that primals can become more intelligent the more powerful they become, the longer they are alive, as seen with the Warren Triad and Bahamut. But what am I saying? This is supposed to be a summary of my past, not a never-ending lecture on my research. Now where was I? Ah yes, my life graduating the studium. Due to the nature of my field, I did not easily find a job, since there are no primals in the old world to observe. Then, the calamities struck. The sky split open, and the red moon of Delamad descended, torn from the heavens by Garlean hand. And from the moon emerged the elder primal Bahamut. I was in awe while others in the streets around me screamed in terror. Yes, despite the conflict happening in Mordona, Delamad and Bahamut were so large they could be seen from Charlian. The magnificent dreadworm shed his prison and brought his full wrath upon Eorzea, nearly reducing it to ashes. However, amidst the chaos, Bahamut vanished, as did every warrior of light present at the Battle of Cardin. The damage done by Bahamut was somewhat restored, save for massive spires of orange corrupted crystals scattered across the continent, and a drastic change in climate in places like Coathus. It is only now that I know the truth of what happened that day, having since encountered the regenerating primal and defeated him. 5 years later, I received word that the Sons of St. Koinak, a group of Charlian researchers dedicated to uncovering the history of ancient Alag, of who I am a part of, discovered numerous Allagan relics in Mordona. These relics had resurfaced after the calamity, and among them was the majestic Crystal Tower. I've always had a great fascination for the Allagans, so I jumped at the chance to join the Sons in Mordona. I arrived by ship in Limsa Lemensa, but due to decreasing Garlean activity, travel to Mordona was difficult, and my journey to the Sons of St. Koinak was put on hold. To not waste my time idling around for an all clear that may never come, I decided to join the Arcanist Guild, as suggested by a passenger, and strengthen my proficiency with Arcanema. My adventures in Melotia caught the attention of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, and after defeating what turned out to be a lesser Ascian, I was tasked by the Admiral herself to deliver letters to the leaders of the other city-states regarding the Gallian activity. It was around this time that I somehow manifested the ability known as the Echo. As you may know, the Echo allows you to peer into a person's past and relive events as if you were there, as well as granting you immunity to a primal's influence. But my first Echo vision was bizarre, or at least to me, back then it was. When I looked up, I saw a blood-red sky and meteors falling all around me. So many meteors. While this image did not seem very threatening, for some reason I still felt fear and dread, unlike I'd ever known. It is only now that I understand all this. I ended up officially meeting the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, a group of Sharlians and others dedicated to protecting the realm from threats far worse than the Gallian Empire, such as Primals and Ascians. With their help, I defeated the Primal Ifrit, which was also the first time I had seen a Primal in person. I am glad I have the Echo, as I would have been tempered immediately otherwise. It was after this event, and with the city-states finally turning their attention to the Gallian movements, that Sons of St. Koineg finally reached out again. The Sons had recently uncovered tombstones regarding the existence of unique Allagan mages, known as Summoners. These Summoners use special soul crystals to capture the essence of primals and call forth an Igi, which, like a carbuncle, would fight alongside them in battle. Having fought and defeated the Lord of the Inferno, I was perfect for the job of trying out the Summoner soul crystal they had found. Since travel to Moderna was still not viable, the Sons had me meet one of their researchers in Gridania, in Upcaloo Falls. Mitra Ral, the most intelligent, beautiful, and amazing person you will ever meet. I cannot sufficiently describe in words my feelings for her, but all you need to know is that I love her very much, and I could not ask for a more perfect companion and partner. Before I go on another tangent on why I love Mitra so much, I must stay on topic and point out there was no attraction between us when we first met. Just the normal introductions to each other, then straight to business. We conducted the austerities of flame, and I successfully attained my first Igi. Later on, after defeating the kobold's great father, Titan, and rescuing the Scions from the Gallians, Mitra called me back to perform the austerities of Earth. After taming Titan Igi, a dark summoner named Tristan attacked us, wanting my soul crystal. I managed to force him to flee, but concerning things occurred during the fight regarding this dark summoner, but I won't go into detail. It was around this time that I began to look forward to every time I got to see Mitra. After the austerities of Wind was a success, she told me I had exceeded her highest expectations, and that she could not have found a more valuable partner in her research, and was more than proud to call me her closest friend. That last comment made me very warm and happy inside. While it may have been a little out of place, given the circumstance, we hugged right then and there in the floating city of Nim. And at that moment, I knew our feelings were mutual. Despite the threat of Tristan still hovering over our heads, Mitra and I found we had more time to spend together. We'd sit in a small cafe and chat for hours, learning more about each other. Other times we would sit in Upcaloo Falls when no one else was around, and just enjoy each other's company, while listening to the waterfall. After the road to Moderna was finally deemed safe to travel on, Mitra took me to St. Koineg's Find. Frambrose teased Mitra by asking if I was the boyfriend she was always talking about, to which she blushed. I thought it was cute. Then we heard that Tristan had arrived in the Find, and killed a number of researchers and taken their soul crystals they had discovered. Confronting him at the Singing Shards, Mitra and I witnessed the Dark Summoner hand over the soul crystals to a lesser Ascian, who in turn gifted him the power to summon Belias Igi, based off a primal of Eld, although his appearance was still that of Ifrit Igi, albeit with purple hues. Mitra and I put an end to him, but Tristan ended his own life by having his own Ifrit Igi use an overloaded Inferno, scorching him from the face of Hydaelyn. With Tristan gone, the legacy of the Summoner Mages was safe from being tainted by those would use its magics for evil. However, Mitra pointed out that the Ascians also play a shadowy role in all this, and we must do everything we can to stop them. While there are still many more experiences and events that are important to me, I do not have the time to write them all down in this volume. Exploring the Crystal Tower, my time in Ishgard and the discovery of SSLA, my further adventures with Mitra and Dancing Wolf, involving Ascians and ancient alien summoners, encountering Bahamut and later on the Royal Triad, and lastly, my experiences in the First. Maybe another time.